And welcome in, Brew Crew, and happy St. Patty's Day it is. Hope you are enjoying this phenomenal holiday safely, everybody. And it is not because you are drunk today. You are not seeing triple. That is right. You have three Justins on the podcast. Crazy enough as it is, we are joined today by Justin Halsey. How's it going, Justin?
Oh, it's going good. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. How are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, I think I can speak for myself, but I know I can speak for Justin too. We're doing pretty damn good. And as a Browns fan, we might be doing a little bit better than you, but hopefully that changes in the coming weeks.
There's a reason for this.
Yeah. You didn't give a wash. You also didn't give up a wash D and $120 million though. So over 6 years.
This is the free agency and rookie QB podcast. So we will be getting to Von Miller and his swindling of the Bills very soon. Justin, my man, how are you doing today? You got the button up on, or what's going on? What's the occasion, my man?
No, nothing, man. Just a long day. Took the family out for some happy hour drinks and made it back in time. Just one of those days.
Did either of you get any green beer today?
No.
No green beer.
I guess it's reserved for the college days. Well, guys, I want to start off today by saying, wow. I think we get to be one of the very first podcasts to actually do this.
Breaking news.
If you haven't heard already, Davante Adams is officially going to the Vegas Raiders. Holy crud. We were talking about it early on because obviously his good old-fashioned teammate at Fresno State was Derek Carr, QB of the Las Vegas Raiders. Guys, overall reactions on this, and how does this affect his status going forward in Dynasty? And more importantly, how does this affect the status of, say a Hunter Renfrow or a Darren Waller going forward? Let's go to our guest first. Justin, tell us.
Davante Adams is going to be a target hog, I think. I would say that there's going to be a marginal effect on Waller. Rest in peace to all of the Brian Edwards stands out there. We might be ready to put the nail in the coffin. But yeah, Adams going to get a ton of targets. Carr's probably a guy that's been undervalued in dynasty circles for a long time. He's got no excuses now. He's got supporting cast galore. They've just brought in Brandon Bolden. He's got a deep running back room. He's got the weapons out wide. We're going to find out exactly the ceiling that Derek Carr has. It's going to be targets for Adams.
Indeed. That hype train, like you said, that Brian Edwards hype train, man, it died a slow death. A lot of people were on board for a long time. Wow, you're absolutely right. It's non-existent now. Sorry, Brian Edwards, you're back in the line, bud. You might as well be cut at this point.
Yeah.
Justin, how'd you feel about that, man?
I'm still trying to process it. I have a feeling that we're going to overcorrect ourselves here. I think we're going to assume that Davante Adams is going to be Stephon Diggs in Buffalo, and I don't know if that's 100% the case. I know when Diggs was dealt to Buffalo, it was the opposite reaction. It was like, I don't want anything to do with Diggs. Now people are going to be like, well, he'll be fine with Derek Carr. They're going to be a pass-first offense and not on Renfrow, yada, yada. But, they still have Josh Jacobs there. I wonder what that's going to do for him. It might open up some running lanes for him. So I'm probably going to cool on Davante. If I have him, I might try and see if I can flip him for a pretty good haul, depending on what the market's going to do here.
Yeah, that's a really good point. At this point, that is his apex of fucking trade value. He goes to his buddy's offense. His buddy loves to throw it deep. He's been top 10 in deep balls for the past 2-3 seasons. He is the epitome of a gunslinger who's waiting for his horse to ride to the end zone, if that's a way that you could say that. But anyways, this is definitely going to be an interesting duo going forward. I mean, we've kind of been dealt this AFC West that's now an absolute juggernaut. And it was all about making moves. The Chargers were making defensive moves. You know, the Chiefs were standing on the top of their mountain saying, come get us. And then the Broncos said, all right, cool. We're going to go get Russell Wilson. Now we're going to fucking try and come get you. It's going to be a real battle of king of the hill when it comes to that division. I think that the Raiders pulled the best move to kind of get themselves back into the conversation. A lot of people had written them off.
I do feel like in a year, someone's going to feel like a real jackass when they go like 6-10 or whatever the hell it is. Because that's happening. I don't know who it is. I don't think it's going to be the Chiefs, but you know, either Russell Wilson's going to be the flop or Davante Adams is going to be the flop, or something's going to happen in San Diego or whatever, LA. But someone is going to have some buyer's remorse in a year, and my money is going to be on probably going to be Vegas. I don't think this Adams deal is going to be what we all think it's going to be. I could be wrong on that, but that's just where I'm putting my poker chips today.
Well, Vegas has made a couple of great moves in the past couple of days. I mean, going into the free agency talk, this can be our first topic. You know, they did sign Chandler Jones to a longer-term deal. So when we look at that now, everybody's kind of just gearing up for this ultimate battle for the West. And I don't know about you guys, but I almost feel like I just want to expand the wild card just to get every team in the West in there. Just because it's going to be so much fun out there.
It is possible, right? Like mathematically, 4 teams could go because of the 7 seed. It's not likely, but I think it's possible based on the addition.
Yeah, there were a lot of conversations a couple years ago with the NFC West. You know, you had 4 really good teams, and everyone checking the rule book, see if they can all get in. But it's hard to imagine that Denver gets Russell Wilson and just a massive upgrade at quarterback, seems to have everything else in place, and they could very well be the 3rd best team in the division.
Yeah, 100%. So let's move into some more of the free agency signings. This one kind of shocked me a little bit. I want to hear your guys' perspective on the dynasty side of it. Christian Kirk signed in for, I think it was 4 years, $84 million. You know, there's obviously reaches, and bad teams got to put up a little bit more money to get good. But do you guys feel like this is justified? I mean, this guy was a borderline number 2 in his offense last year. When AJ Green was on the field, he was the slot number 3 guy. It definitely shakes up the, you know, market for receivers. One could say this is kind of the reason that this trade actually happened for Davante Adams, because he turned down a $23 million contract, knowing that, you know, a guy in Jacksonville that never got 1,000 yards is getting $20 million a year easily. So, guys, kind of tell me what you're feeling about Christian Kirk after this. Are you feeling like he is somebody you want to draft at a wide receiver 3, maybe wide receiver 2, because you think that you got to think that Marvin Jones and Christian Kirk kind of could be interchangeable at that number 1 role. So kind of just tell me what you guys are thinking for dynasty-wise and for fantasy-wise for Christian Kirk going forward. Let's start with you, Justin Andrew.
Yeah, I think people are making fun of, you know, the signing. Obviously, it is a little bit unjustified for a number of reasons, but I think it could work. He was kind of in a bad fit, I think, in that style in Arizona, which was high volume. He's not a real speed threat. He's a pretty good route runner, and I like Doug Peterson. I think he could fit inside of that offense, especially with, you know, the other signing there I loved was actually Evan Ingram. We can get into that one later. That's one I absolutely love. But Kirk could be a solid deal depending on how the owner's feeling about it. A lot of people are going to view that as a downgrade in the dynasty space. But really that offense is going to just pass the ball nonstop. So I kind of like the value there. Kind of interested to see what people are selling it for, actually.
Yeah. Go ahead, Justin.
You know, I'm not terribly interested at his cost now. I think the real winners are the dynasty managers over the past few months. I looked back at some startups that I've done. One, Christian Kirk was taken in the 12th round. Another was 15th, and the third was 16th round, which obviously now you feel great about. You know, the sporting cast for Trevor Lawrence has certainly improved maybe just marginally and at a massive cost, but the situation does improve nonetheless. I do wonder if the resources could have been allocated better for, say, Allen Robinson and a reunion in Jacksonville there, but it's not my money. They added Christian Kirk, and not only him, but they got Zay Jones and Evan Ingram. Kirk's stock for me doesn't change a whole lot. I think that the interesting one might be Evan Ingram. Just when we thought that we were done with him, he pulls us back in and might find some relevance here in the coming season.
So it's funny that you guys want to mention that, and I'm cool getting all the Jaguars out of here. They signed, like you said, they signed Zay Jones, they signed Evan Ingram. They now have two running backs.
I don't know why we're talking about Zay Jones. That guy's notorious for trying to jump out of a window. So
we're talking about Zay Jones because the rest of the offense is Marvin Jones, is Laviska Shenault, and fucking Jamal Agnew. So that's why we're talking about Zay Jones, because any of those guys is a freaking pasta.
I'll take above all of them Zay Jones. I am not in on Zay Jones. I might be a bitter Bills fan, but that dude I don't think is a very good football player.
Hey, he yielded you guys like a 3 when the Raiders traded for him. So I would be happy that you got a 3 for Zay Jones. I would be happy in Dynasty if I got a 3 for Zay Jones.
That is true.
But you make a good point. Nobody really thinks Zay Jones is going to be anything, right? Evan Ingram, you guys have both talked about it. He's probably got the most, dynasty value, maybe even redraft value because it's a 1-year deal going into next year. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, you guys can break this down for me. Jaguars, it kind of just seems like they've got way too much and way too little to, disperse. The one move that I thought was great was Brandon Sheriff. I'm like, yes. Load up on that line. Give him some time to find his threats. Outside of that, I'm like, is there anybody really there that's a wide receiver too that I would be happy with getting in my flex? Maybe Christian Kirk, but that's where he kind of was before. So does his value kind of just stay the same?
I will say this about the receiving threats, Ingram included. They've got a very soft schedule to open the season. And if there is a sell window that opens for any 3 of these guys, I would take advantage after the first few games. It's a soft schedule to open the season. And we could see a guy like Kirk or Ingram take advantage of that. And I'm selling. I would be getting out at that point. I'm not overly optimistic long-term about any 3 of these guys.
Yeah, I'm actually really bullish on these guys for some reason. Not necessarily to be studs, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of value to be had inside of this Jaguars team. Everyone kind of wants to jump in on ETN from last year, which is fine. I'm kind of all in on James Robinson. I think it's going to be a committee there. I think that Doug Peterson has done pretty well. I don't have the statistics in front of me, but Doug Peterson is able to move the ball. They had that MVP season with Carson Wentz. So I'm kind of back in on Lawrence, and I was notoriously out on Lawrence at his cost last year. I didn't love him as the 101. I'm in on him now, and I think this is going to be a surprise team. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but I think they're going to be in the mix late in the season because of their soft schedule. And I loved the hiring of Doug Peterson. I think that Lawrence is going to take that next step, and I'm kind of in on these guys if we can get a value on them. It kind of depends. I'm hoping they trade down from the 1. I think they're going to get some receivers in this draft because they're lacking a true number 1. But I think you can get that in this draft, especially if you trade down and try and extort someone for the number 1 pick.
I agree with you about Lawrence, and I've never been out on Lawrence. I trust the process, and I'm not an overreactive guy. So I'm in on Lawrence, and I'm in on the offense as a collective. I don't foresee a circumstance where a true, consistent, reliable fantasy producer comes out of this receiving core. I do like them as a collective. I just think it's going to be 1 week this guy, the next week that guy. I don't think there's going to be a lot of consistency.
So if you were doing a best ball draft, who are you taking out of the bunch? Who do you trust the most?
Ingram.
Yeah, I'm probably on Ingram. Let's remove Ingram because I'm in on him, and I've hated Ingram for years. But I'm in on the scheme. But what about you, Joe? What about you, Halsey?
It would be Christian Kirk. Yeah.
Okay. I actually think I would go Marvin.
Not Zay Jones.
To be honest. I'd go Marvin Jones, to be honest. I think that's the best one of the bunch. But anyways, I mean, let's stop talking about this pile of horse doo-doo.
You're gonna feel really silly when they go to the Super Bowl next year, man.
Yeah. You can hold me to
Jaguars fans.
You can hold me to it. I'll be right here. I will be real silly. I'll say, you know what? I quit podcasting. I did not predict the Jacksonville Jaguars to be going anywhere near the Super Bowl. Anyways, guys, let's move on to another topic. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys for a second because there's a lot that went on there. Obviously, Amari Cooper went to Halsey's Browns. We got Michael Gallup staying in Dallas, and then we got Cedric Wilson going to the Miami Dolphins, which is another kind of topic we could hit if we really wanted to. Break down these three moves. Which one are you guys most excited about fantasy-wise? Who do you see the most value in going forward? And yeah, as far as dynasty goes, where would you be picking these guys? Let's start out with you, Halsey.
I mean, the guy I'm excited about is Michael Gallup. I've long been a fan. I do think it's now or never. I think the patient Gallup truthers are going to be rewarded. He's certainly a hold if you roster him now. I do caution everyone a little with the hype. Dallas continues to be not quite as fantasy friendly as we would like to think, and as fantasy friendly as we would expect. The talent's, with Gallup, the talent is meeting opportunity. And, like I said, he's a hold if you roster him. I'm excited about the opportunity. It's a tough offense, man. They spread the ball out so much. And, with Kellen Moore and Dak, it's just, CeeDee Lamb, obviously being there, and Dalton Schultz. It's going to be a tough offense to crack. They continue to be tough to predict as far as a week to week basis.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, 1 week they're going with Cedric Wilson. 1 week they could be going with Noah Brown. Who knows? It would not surprise me if they went and got somebody like a Jalen Tolbert in the draft. Yeah. Just to bring on somebody else because that's how Dallas likes to roll.
Week 1 last season against the Bucs. I mean, Thursday night, Amari Cooper just went ballistic, and it's just that's how they operate. It's a tough offense for fantasy purposes. I wish it wasn't. There's so much talent, but that's how they roll.
So, I got a quick question for you both. Does this upgrade CeeDee Lamb for you guys in Dynasty, in fantasy in general? Do you guys see him as somebody to be taken in this, second round, where he's kind of going right now? Some people got him going in the back end of the first round in Dynasty because of his youth. Where do you guys see CeeDee Lamb going? Start off with you
go first, Tulsi. Yeah, you guys aren't going to like my takes. So you go first.
I'm a CeeDee Lamb guy. He's a top 5 Dynasty receiver. I'll preach this. I tell people all the time. I don't overreact. I don't think Dynasty should be, this vacuum of overreactions. I love CeeDee Lamb. I love the talent. I trust the talent, and he's the wide receiver one there, and that's not changing. They're clearly invested in making that happen. I'm taking him right now in the back end of the second round.
Fair enough. I like that spot for the back end of the second round. I wish I could get him in the back end of the second round, but he's usually gone for me by pick 2.3. Justin, Andrew, we are ready for your sour take. Give it to us, my man.
I want to start this with growing up, my father was a Cowboys fan. I'm a Bills fan, so of course I dislike the Cowboys, but let me just take you back to Michael Gallup's rookie year. The year's 2018. Michael Gallup's a rookie. He's got Amari Cooper. We have 1,700-yard rusher Zeke Elliott. Dak Prescott threw for 22 touchdowns. Had never thrown for over that mark until 2019. Now, that's when we saw the upgrades to the offense. We saw some upgrades to that Cowboys passing attack, but CeeDee Lamb didn't come in until 2020. But in 2019, Dak Prescott finally threw for 30 or more touchdowns. But I'm kind of out on this offense. I think we kind of have inflated it a little bit. I think we're losing assets in Amari Cooper. I think Amari Cooper unlocked some CeeDee Lamb one-on-one coverage, and I've always been a fan of Michael Gallup, by the way. I have him in pretty much wherever I can get him, but I kind of now I'm finding myself wanting to sell. I think that we're going to see a regression here in terms of touchdowns. Dak had 9 touchdowns in the couple of games he played last year, 30 touchdowns in 2019, 37 touchdowns in 2021. I think we're going to see a dip back down to the 20 mark this season. And I think we're going to see more of a focus on Zeke and Tony Pollard getting a lot of touches. I think we're going to see more of a focus in the draft this year on defense, not on drafting another receiver. So I'm kind of just taking a big chill pill on this whole Cowboys offense a little bit.
That's fair enough. I mean, they did kind of give you reason to do that last year after Dak was injured. He didn't really produce the year that we thought he was going to. And I think a lot of people, especially in Superflex, were a little bit pissed off.
I will say keep an eye on this. Jerry Jones, Arkansas guy. If Treylon Burks is there, Jerry
he'll
Jones
take him for sure. He'll take him.
He's going to take him.
Yeah, he'll take him for sure. I mean, if he even gets the idea that Treylon Burks is going to be there, he'll probably trade up just to see if he can grab him.
I don't think they were planning on taking CeeDee Lamb a couple years back. He was there, and Jerry was in love, and it's going to be same with Treylon Burks.
When you're drunk on a boat, you just do shit.
Yeah. I actually think last year's Micah Parsons was the smartest move they've made in a long time. Not to say CeeDee Lamb's a bad player, but as far as absolute need, that was the smartest play Dallas has done in a long time.
Yeah. The best pick they ever made was that Travis Frederick pick. And I remember people were booing them for that pick. And that was a huge pick at the time along that offensive line.
That was probably just Dallas fans. They usually just want the big impact players. They're like, oh, no, fuck offensive linemen. They can't make highlight reels. But anyways, guys, let's move on. Big news today. Allen Robinson has finally decided where he's going to go. He's going with the Rams, which is interesting for people who thought that Odell Beckham Jr. was going to land there. What do you guys make of this? Do you guys think Odell is still somebody who could be there? Do you think they cut Robert Woods? Do you think they roll with Robert Woods and they just say, Odell, fine, goodbye? Like, what do you guys make of this whole situation? Let's start off with you, Andrew.
Yeah, so I think Odell's still going to probably end up back there. Odell tore his ACL in February. I think they're kind of giving themselves an insurance policy with Allen Robinson. The fandom in me is hoping that they cut Robert Woods and he goes back to Buffalo. I know that he was commenting on Von Miller's story up in Buffalo. I think that they're friends, and I know that he enjoyed his time there. I think that the signing makes a lot of sense. I think Robinson's a great number 2 at this stage in his career. He has the upside to be a number 1, but you still have Cooper Kupp there. The guy that it really kills is Van Jefferson, who I thought showed some promise last year and some flashes, though.
Yep.
I was going to bring up the same thing. Van Jefferson's a guy that I own just about everywhere. It's tough. We got to pour one out for him. But Allen Robinson, it's a 3-year, $46.5 million contract. They're all in on making this work. I mean, that's a long-term deal, a ton of money. He's going to be a big part of the offense. With OBJ, I was really encouraged by everything that I saw down the stretch this past season. He sent out a cryptic tweet just shortly after the Davante Adams signing. So who knows with this guy? I'm familiar with him in Cleveland. He's a hard nut to crack, but I'm going to be encouraging and optimistic wherever
you just got to throw him the ball.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Go for it.
No, my instant reaction was Van Jefferson and some of the, I think it absolutely kills his stock.
Now, what about Tutu Atwell?
Yeah. No, 100%. He's to the moon. He's still to the moon. No fucking way that Sean McVay is going to draft you in the second round and not use you. Like, that don't make no sense.
Can I just point out, by the way, while we're talking about the Rams, unfree agency related, I'm just going to toss this out there with the hot take. I still think Darrell Henderson's the starter next year. Just throwing that out there.
All right, and we'll hold
Just
you
had
to
to
it.
get that off my chest.
We'll hold you to it.
Yeah.
You don't have a Cam Akers voodoo doll in there, do you?
No.
He's still young. He's been an incredibly efficient runner. I think it's always going to be a committee. Sean McVay is going to be one of these guys where he wants all the weapons, and for fantasy purposes, it's going to be very frustrating. Darrell Henderson's a guy that I'm still in on.
Yeah, I'll pass on Darrell Henderson. I mean, I'll keep him on my rosters because if I know McVay and Shanahan's system, they absolutely destroy their running backs, and their running backs tend to get injured in training camp. So I won't say Henderson won't be the starter, but I'm going to say this. If Cam Akers is an option going into the season, he will not be the starter because he has already proven he loves Cam Akers. He wouldn't have played him as much as he did during the playoffs.
How about we do a shotgun bet? The loser has to shotgun a beer on this show. I guarantee you Henderson outscores Cam Akers next year.
Oh, deal. Deal. Well, we'll draw up the contract.
We got that one, and then we got Mr. Trey Lance too, who it seems like every day I'm hearing the 49ers wanting someone else. Now I know it was fake news about Tom Brady, or about
Deshaun Watson. That was fake news, buddy.
It was fake news.
It was fake news. Yeah. I unfollowed that reporter. I can't trust it anymore. Well, guys, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back. And we'll start talking about some good old-fashioned rookie quarterbacks.
Can I get a round of applause, everyone? Today, I'm excited to announce Manscaped launched their Ultra Premium Collection. Believe it or not, it's not for your private parts. I'm talking about a leveled up hygiene routine with your favorite manly scent. This is an all-in-one skin and hair care kit for the everyday man and covers you from head to toe. Literally, Manscaped is trusted below the waist. Now trust them with the rest. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY. We all know how essential that Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0 is for that precise trim below the waist. Their advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts to your most delicate areas. But now you can enhance your perfect grooming routine with their Ultra Premium Collection. This package includes Manscaped's premium deodorant, hydrating body moisturizer, body wash, and 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. Plus, a free gift, a 3-pack of lip balm to keep those chappers feeling moist. So get 20% off and free shipping when you use the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY at manscaped.com. One more time, that's 20% off and free shipping when you use the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY at manscaped.com. The power of attraction is now in a bottle.
So, guys, I know we're going to get to the rookie quarterbacks because I wanted to designate half the show to it at least. There's so many free agent signs we can get to, and so many other shows have already covered it. But I did promise Justin Andrew this little spot where he could talk about his boy, Von Miller, getting $20 million a year until he's 39. By the way, I did love the O.J. Howard signing. I think it
I like
does
that one.
drop Knox a little bit, but I'm gonna throw you a little bone here. Go for it. Shoot on Von Miller being there until he's 39.
I think
And why
that's
it's
an
not gonna
absolute.
happen.
I just that's one of those. I don't even know what to say other than I don't know what the hell you're thinking. Like, sign a dude with 31 who had he was okay in the playoffs with Aaron Donald next to him. Like, that's just one of those colossal fails that I don't understand. From the Bills GM has been so good. He's made some very key signings, so I'm going to just go with it as a fan. But I'm going to sit here and say that's one of the dumbest signings I've ever seen. And I'm assuming it's 6 years because there's 3 avoidable years on the end, so they could spread the cap hit. But just a colossal fail. That's like Joe Fanboy being a Bills GM and being like, we can get Von Miller. Cool. 31-year-old Von Miller. Good job, guys. That's all I got.
You know it's going to be a short deal because they backloaded it. Like they essentially said, "Hey, if you can make it to the 4th year, we'll give you $20 million a year." For the first couple, it's going to be like 16 and a half. But
Yeah.
you would think at that price, why not just go in and get Chandler Jones, the better pass rusher at this point, the younger pass rusher at this point? You know, why not just go in and try and grab that guy?
I have a feeling they tried and lost. I think when J.D. McKissick spurts you, I don't know. I just maybe someone like Chandler Jones is like, well, if McKissick's out, I'm out. That's the only thing I got.
Holsey, do you have a take on this one?
It's not great. You guys covered it. I mean, it's laughable, but they got the name, so I'm sure the casual fans will be happy. Wait a few
buy the jersey.
Yeah, for sure. It's a Super Bowl winner, right? Like I said, I'll sell tickets, but I don't like it.
So I'll say this. I'll give you guys one guess. I have owned one Bills jersey in my entire life. Can you guess which jersey I bought? I'm 31.
Stims?
No.
I hope it wasn't Mitchell Trubisky because that didn't last long.
It's not a recent jersey.
Yeah, I didn't figure it was.
Was it McGahee?
I was gonna.
T.O.
Oh,
I forgot about that. That's amazing.
Bought it the night that dude signed.
I love it.
I was all in at the time. But yeah, that was I'm not a big jersey guy, but I definitely bought the Terrell Owens jersey the day it came out.
Y'all remember when T.O. and Ocho Cinco teamed up for the old man team?
Robin, man. Sadly, that dude could still kick my ass, by the way. That dude is ripped still. If you ever see T.O.
Oh, yeah. That dude is jacked. He could probably still run a 4.5 easily. Easily. All right, guys. Well, we are going to flawlessly transition into the rookie quarterbacks, everybody. It's time. It's time to put Justin Halsey to the test because that is why I picked him to come on here. If you don't know, this man has been writing rookie profiles for the Dynasty Nerds. He is tuned up and ready to go for this segment. Halsey, we're going to just pass it around roundtable like we've been doing, shit talking 24/7, but we're going to start focusing in on certain guys. And I want to focus in on the top 5 guys that we've got right now. It's kind of like, everybody's kind of said this is unanimous. These are our top 5 guys. We got Malik Willis. We got Kenny Pickett. We got Ritter. We got Howell. And we've got Corral. So just quickly, tell me who your top 5 are, and then we'll just start running through them.
Sure. Top 5. This is fantasy. My real life rankings are a little bit different. Malik Willis is QB1. I've got Sam Howell, QB2. I've got Matt Corral, QB3. Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ritter.
And give us your real life.
Real life would be Sam Howell 1, Kenny Pickett 2, Malik Willis 3, and then Corral and Ritter.
Justin, how's that line up with yours?
I agree on Willis. I don't really delineate between fantasy and real life. I think, and I understand why you do it for sure. I think if I'm a GM, I kind of have my notes here. My top rated guy is Willis. Let me sort these. Sorry, I've been watching a lot of film the last 2 weeks, so I'm just now getting into this. So I got Willis as my one. Pickett is a tenth of a point behind him. I got Golden Corral, Sam Howell, and Carson Strong.
Oh, nice. Throwing in strong. I like that. Yeah. So, I mean, let's dive right into it, guys. Obviously, I think unanimously for fantasy, everybody thinks Malik Willis is going to be the one to pick. Kind of give your reasons for Malik Willis, kind of give where you would draft him and say like a super flex. Let's not go QB1 because I don't think he'll make it in the first round, if not the real back end of the first round in QB1s. Let's go super flex. Let's go where QBs are really interesting. Halsey, start us off. Tell us your reasoning why you like Malik Willis.
Sure.
Maybe your like pros and cons list, and then kind of just tell me where you would pick him in Superflex.
Yeah, it took me a while to arrive at this. I am finally on board with Malik being QB1 of the class for fantasy purposes. Like I said, real life evaluation has him at QB3, but we're talking fantasy. I don't think there's a strong case for anyone else right now. In my opinion, draft capital is king. And if Malik does indeed go top 10, let's say to Seattle or Carolina, him being QB1 should be unanimous. The rushing floor alone props him up dramatically, increases his chances of having QB1 seasons. His instincts as a rushing threat, and I think we saw some of this in the Senior Bowl, are incredible. His best traits, I would say, his ability to improvise, throw off structure, and his arm strength. Luckily for him, some of the weaknesses are things that can be coached. The mechanics and footwork is a total mess. Luckily, the NFL has plenty of guys who can correct that. At this point, I'm all in on Malik. I would take him 102 in Superflex rookie drafts without hesitation after Breece Hall.
Nice. I like that. I do have to throw in one little thing. Watching tape of Malik Willis is kind of cringeworthy sometimes because I love that he can run the ball with the vision of a running back, but I hate that he stands up and takes hits like he does. Like, one difference I saw between him and Sam Howell, and I was like, Sam Howell is nowhere near athletically what this guy is, but Sam Howell knows how to slide. He knows how to find, the out of bounds line. I look at Malik Willis, I look him get stand up, take all these big hits, and I'm just like, bro, this is college. Like, when you get to the NFL, safety's going to be cracking down on you like a mother. So that's one of the worries I have about him. Justin Andrew, that is. We all know how you feel about Malik Willis. We have a whole bet on this one. But
listen, I'm not I watched the film. I dug in a little bit deeper. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Malik Willis is I can't miss prospect. He is the 101 in this class. I think we're all a little too high on Breece Hall. We'll get into that during our rookie show. I have a lot of concerns there, and I know that I sound crazy, but I'll express those. I'll just say he's a Big 12 running back. That's the big thing when I watch him on film. Thing about Malik I like is he's still so raw. He doesn't progress through his reads well, and he just loves to lock onto one target. So he's going to be a guy that relies, if you went to like a Chicago with Matt Nagy, he'd be fucked because he's going to be a guy I think you got to do a little play action bootleg with and kind of cut down him to half the field so he can make the right read. But I think, as Halsey said, it's spot on. I mean, he's got the arm strength you can't teach. He's got the athleticism you can't teach. Everything else is fixable and correctable. It's going to come down to, can he learn it? Does he want to learn it? And will he listen to his coaches? Josh Allen, it's kind of like a Josh Allen, but, you can't say he's going to be Josh Allen because when you watch Josh Allen, every single week that dude makes a mistake, he comes right back the following week and like fixes those mistakes because he trusts his coaches. That's kind of rare in the NFL. A lot of these people, when you get to the NFL, they've kind of lived off their talent for so long. They think that, this coach doesn't get it. This is just the way I've been doing it. That's how I got here. So that's going to be the big thing, is if he can take the coaching and actually improve each week.
And I want to touch on that. I think that coaching is absolutely the key. And I hope that he lands in a spot that has it.
Yeah.
That's the problem that I've expressed this plenty of times with you, Justin. If he doesn't land in the right spot, that'll be toxic. That'll end his career before it even starts. Josh Allen was lucky enough that he landed in a spot where he found somebody who could actually hone in on his talent, because it took 3 years. It took 3 years before Josh Allen was a monster.
A lot of that's Jordan Palmer. I think a lot of that's Jordan Palmer. I don't know if it's necessarily all Brian Daboll. He still goes to Jordan Palmer every year for during COVID, he lived with Jordan Palmer on the beach with Sam Darnold. So
well, that's just exactly what I'm saying. Is it's just like, who's going to guarantee that Washington, who's had so many quarterbacks, right there, that Taylor Heineke and all these guys, Seattle, who's not really, I wouldn't say they're known for developing quarterbacks. Russ has been probably their best one in a long time since Hasselbeck, and Hasselbeck came to them. There's a lot of coaches, you could go to Daboll in New York, but he has to fall into the right spot that's going to trust that he's going to be something in maybe a year or two after being behind somebody for a little bit. Because I think the main key to all these quarterbacks is being a bridge. They got to have some sort of bridge quarterback to get them through. But guys, I want to move on, but quickly I want to say, who do you think he goes to? Just a quick one-word answer. Who do you think he goes to? Halsey, go for it.
Seattle.
Justin?
Houston or Carolina. I can't decide.
Okay. I actually think he goes to New York. I think he goes to the Giants. Now let's move on. Let's go to the next guy. Let's talk about Sam Howell. How do you guys feel about Sam Howell? Obviously, 2 sets of tape. If you look at his 2020 tape, you're like, oh my God, this guy's a first rounder. If you look at his 2021 tape, you're like, Jesus Christ, day 2, maybe even day 3. Where are you guys with Sam Howell going forward? He obviously shows talent. I think he shows adaptability. He definitely adapted to his brand new offense at North Carolina. Not new set, but just new pieces in it. Halsey, go ahead, start us off. How do you feel about Sam Howell?
Howell's my guy. He was QB1 in my fantasy rookie rankings for months until I recently moved Willis up. He's still my QB1 in real life rookie rankings. I'm confident that he's going to get the coveted first round draft capital. I know that, looking at mocks right now, he's just outside of the first round. Quarterback's king. I do think he's going to trend in that direction. At the combine, he measured in at just under 6'1" at 218. Makes him one of the heaviest quarterbacks, especially at his height in the class, despite being under 6'1". I do believe that he's the most complete passer. I don't think that it's particularly close. The physical tools are all there to go along with functional mobility and athleticism. I think there's some prospect fatigue involved here. We do this a lot. Right now he's the best value pick in Superflex rookie rankings as far as I'm concerned. Some of the mock drafts that I've been in, he in a Nerds draft recently, he went 201. That's crazy. But at best right now he's going late in the first round. And, I'm going to bring this up. I should, because it's the Justin show evidently, but his arc reminds me a bit of Justin Herbert at Oregon. I know that the profile comp is more Baker Mayfield, but just his prospect arc reminds me a bit of Herb.
Yeah, that's a hell of a comparison there, to be honest.
And not necessarily that I'm projecting him to be, that level of player, but I think just some of the scouting him and maybe over analyzing a bit. I think we did that with Herb. I think we're doing it right now with Howell. Just his prospect arc as far as the pre-draft process reminds me a lot of Herbert.
And trust me, I'm actually agreeing with you. I like the way that you were going with that. I don't think he'll end up being like Herbert in the NFL, but as far as the way that his last season went, Herbert was kind of dead on an island with Oregon. Like, he didn't have too much talent around him. He had to use a lot of his feet. You know, I mean, we all remember that Rose Bowl. He pretty much took the MVP because he fucking ran it the entire time. You know, he's just a winner. And that's what I kind of like about Hal is he kind of just found a way to win with the new weapons around him. He lost De'Ami Brown. He lost Javonte Williams. He lost Michael Carter. He lost a lot of good guys.
That's a great point. It's something that people forget. He lost, you know, essentially his entire offense, including a couple guys on his offensive line. I mean, they rebuilt that offense at the skill positions.
Exactly. Justin, Andrew, tell me about Sam. Tell me how you feel about him.
We just disagree on this one. I'm not a big Howell guy. I went back and watched some of the 2020 stuff. He had a lot of talent there. The big thing I saw when I evaluated Herbert was my QB1 when he was coming out. Everyone was dropping the ball. I went back and watched a lot of the film this year, and you know, I had some success the last couple of years. Doesn't mean I'm foolproof, but I just can't get there with him. I don't love his decision making. I don't think he has the arm strength at this level to like be an elite passer, to be like a Justin Herbert QB1 type. I do have a guy on this list that I love as my value guy that we'll get to here in a minute, but I have my thing. I didn't feel like the accuracy was there this year. It was more so there in 2020. He did have a lot better talent there, but arm strength didn't pop off to me. And I just didn't love the decision making this year, and that's going to be what does it for me. That was one of the reasons why I love Zach Wilson coming out. I love the touchdown interceptions he had coming out. I love Zach Wilson's decision making in college. Didn't translate his rookie year, but I'm still high on him. I think he makes that next step because he was trying to overcompensate. But I can't get there on Howell this year.
That's fair enough. Quick answer. Who does he land with? Halsey, go ahead.
Detroit.
Like that.
It's a good one.
Andrew.
I'll give you one. If he's as good as we think he is, and I'm Tampa Bay, why not just keep taking guys until I mean, who cares if you took Trask last year? Just keep throwing crap at a wall and see what hits when Brady retires.
Hey, both phenomenal picks. I'm actually with Halsey on this one. My pick for him was the 32nd pick in the first round, going to Detroit. But yeah, I think Tampa Bay is the one to offer him too, especially with Brady coming back for one more year. Hopefully, you know, he keeps us in the know about what his future is going forward. But anyways, guys, let's move on. Matt Corral is next, the Ole Miss prospect. How are you guys feeling about him? Halsey, once again, let's start off with you.
I've been pretty vocal with my concerns with Corral. Some of them were alleviated at the combine. I was concerned. I thought he would weigh in right around or just under 200 pounds. He came in at 212, which is great. I mean, I just wasn't expecting it. You watch the tape, you look at pictures, you compare him to guys with similar physical profiles. He looked like skin and bones out there to me, but, I mean, he came in at 212. I'm ecstatic about that. I do worry about his processing, how well his traits translate to the NFL. The Ole Miss offense, I don't think required him to do a whole lot of the things that develop quarterbacks for the next level. You know, throwing guys open, working through progressions. Drew Lock, he's talked about this a lot, about how certain college offenses don't allow quarterbacks to become NFL-ready players. It's just something worth noting. I just worry if that Ole Miss offense really prepared him for the NFL. And something that isn't really being talked about is his free fall right now in mock drafts. Corral was mocked consistently in the top 15 for the last 3 months through mid-February. And seemingly overnight, he is now pushed to the late first, even early second in industry mocks. I mean, guys that have sources that they're mocking these players based off of what they're hearing, and now he's late first, early second. I'm not sure why that is. I mean, you can go on the mock draft database and he trended down mid-February, just free fall. So something worth monitoring. There's something there. But he's not a guy that I'm totally in on. I have some concerns about the NFL readiness.
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you. And I watched him on film, and one thing he completely struggles with is throwing that ball down the field. Love to dump the ball off to the running back, struggle with decision making. More of a runner, I think, than anything else. Willing to be wrong with him. I have him in Howell neck and neck in my rankings, and I could easily flip them because I could make the case for Howell to be my QB3, and I'm probably going to make that change. I'll probably bump him a tiny bit, but yeah, I've been out on Corral since I watched his film. There's not a whole lot I love. He's a great athlete. I mean, I don't trust that arm strength at the next level. When you need a guy to make a throw, he's just not a guy I want to put my life on to make that game-winning throw.
So where do you guys think he'll be? Like, obviously, it seems like he might end up being a second rounder at this point. Where do you think he could end up where he could have some success?
I think he's going to free fall. I don't even know if it's him. I think it might be a third round. To be,
okay.
I know that sounds like a hot take, but
no, it doesn't sound like a hot take at all.
I think he could fall into the third round and go to a team that has a starter, like in Atlanta if they don't get Deshaun Watson or something.
Okay.
If he does sneak into the first, a team that I think might be targeting him at the 26th pick is Tennessee.
Very nice. I like that. I'm going to go with somebody I think a team that could fit him pretty well, just based off of what you guys have been saying, and that's kind of the Pittsburgh scheme. I think that, they want somebody who can dump it off to Najee Harris and keep that ball rolling. So I think that Matt Corral could be a possible fit there, especially if they're not going to be in the Malik Willis, carousel Derby. At this point. Yeah, exactly. So let's talk real quick about guys like Desmond Ridder and Kenny Pickett. We'll start out with Desmond Ridder real quick. Kind of shows off, he's super hyper athletic, great broad jump, great vertical, top marks for pretty much everything athletically at the combine. Maybe an average decision maker, has some accuracy problems, but he's incredibly athletic, and that can translate to fantasy relevance at the next level. But as we saw with Jalen Hurts, we can also see that it can translate to some level of success, a la the Eagles making the playoffs last year. What do you think of this guy? And we'll get it real quick. Once you're done what you're thinking of him, where do you think he'll land? Halsey, go ahead.
So Ridder has a day 2 grade for me. But again, this is a guy who is going to be a better fantasy asset than real life quarterback. You mentioned that. And it will again spark this debate that we continue to have that we saw with Jalen Hurts. Obviously being a good NFL quarterback is important because it leads to longevity and contracts and job security. But how much stock should we put into that as fantasy managers? Ridder's going to be a top 40 pick. My grade for him was third round, but I think he's going top 40. I think that's a lock. He can make any throw asked of him. He runs a 4.5 40. So, I guess the question for fantasy managers is where do you draft a guy like that in your rookie drafts, in your super flex rookie drafts? Because if you want that player, then I think that you have to spend an early second round pick on him. Currently for me, he's my number 16 overall player in Superflex rankings. I think that that's a little higher than consensus, but landing spot could move him either way. But whenever we get into rookie draft season, and I've said it earlier on this podcast, quarterback is king. I think he's going to go early second round. If you want him, that's what you got to pay for him.
Halsey, I got a question for you real quick. Say that he ends up in Carolina, and Carolina's got no other option. They don't get Jimmy G. They don't get Deshaun Watson. They don't bullshit anything. They're stuck with Ridder, and they're stuck with freaking Darnold, and it's that shit show going on. Does he creep into the first round for you in Superflex?
I don't think so, because that means that he would have to jump guys. I'm looking at it real quick. He would have to jump guys like Rashad White, Chris Olave. He would have to, for me, jump both George Pickens and Christian Watson, which he would probably do. For me, no, I wouldn't. I would not take him late first round.
Yeah, fair enough. Justin Andrew, what's your take on Desmond Ridder, and Halsey, where do you think he's going?
Gosh, tough. It's going to be tough seeing where the NFL is on him. I could see him as early as late first round. I could see him as another candidate for Detroit at the end of the first round. I think he's a good fit for Detroit at the back end of the first round. I mentioned them with Corral as well, but I do think that as far as where they're going to end up draft capital wise, Howell and Ridder are going to be in that same range.
All right, Justin Andrews, sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good.
What was yours?
I don't know, man. I missed. I don't love me Ridder that much. Ball kind of hangs in the air when he makes those throws. Didn't love the zip on the ball. Can make the short throws. Can make the throws you need him to. I have him grading out as a backup. I don't think that without Carson Wentz's drastic fall in Philadelphia, we see Hurts. That's one of those things where I think Hurts is okay, but I'm not sure he's going to be a starter in a year. So I kind of have Ridder as a round 3 pick, and I just don't going any higher than that. I'd feel bad for people taking him any higher than third round, quite honestly. If I had to guess where he would go, if someone's moving up that high, Minnesota athletic guy. They also have what's his face from last year,
Kellen
who's
Mond.
also kind of athletic. Yeah, Kellen Mond. So maybe he'd fit that scheme kind of well.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially with them getting Kirk Cousins for another year. It almost ensures that they'll have somebody for the future, whether it's Mond or him.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just we're back in this debate that we had with Jalen Hurts, that we continue to have with Jalen Hurts. I don't like Desmond Ridder. I don't think that he's a particularly good quarterback. But if he goes first round, or even if he goes early second, and he's obviously obscenely athletic, he's a fantasy asset. And as much as we might not want that to be true, or don't agree with the NFL's evaluation of him, if he gets the draft capital and he clearly has the profile to have fantasy success, if he gets first round draft capital, he's going to have the opportunity. He's going to run. He's going to have that upside. It's tough, man. I don't like him. I don't think he's particularly good, but it might not matter what I think. You know what I mean? If he gets the opportunity and he's running all over the field, sure, it might only be for a few years.
Required where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. Just want to talk